What's going on, YouTube? Thanks again for everyone tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Today we are about to talk about the first ride, first review, some likes, some dislikes here about the new bike, the cruiser here now in the garage, the xDiavel S. So first start off, why did I get a cruiser? Because first off, why didn't I get the other cruisers? The V-Rods, the M109, the V-Max, there's plenty of other ones out there. Why did I pick this one? Again, because this is what I wanted. It's not what was best or was better. This is what best suited my decision in my mind at the time. So let's just get that out of the way right then and there. Of course, we got those trolls out there that hate that go, oh, you should have got this, you should have did this. No, I shouldn't have done any of that shit. I should have got exactly what I wanted, and that's what I did. So we'll start there. So now that we got about 600-700 miles underneath her, we got some good riding miles, and took it around and went cruising to the beach and did some highway riding and riding it a lot to work. How is it? Well, it's definitely different from all my other bikes, my sport bikes and my Groms, and nonetheless here, the Corvette, no comparison, but it's different. It definitely takes a lot to get used to sitting up in this upright position. Nonetheless, the forward foot controls, because I'm not used to always having to brake, up here and shift, up here, where I'm always using my feet are usually behind me. Now, a lot of cool features that I do like about this bike is how you can definitely change your foot controls by moving them forward some, or getting the adapter here and making them mid as well. But the best thing that I really like about this bike, and what really sold me versus all the other cruisers, was the fact that this bike does 40 degrees of lean angle, as Ducati claims. Now, it takes a second to get trust with that, here on a cruiser, because 40 degrees on a crotch rocket, that's nothing, They've done that, hundreds of times, no problem. But doing that here on a cruiser, it definitely changes the perspective on how you turn and do things, because the handlebars obviously turn with the headlights, and this, rides more so like a chopper, where on the sport bike here, the handlebars are behind the headlight and the face doesn't move. So it takes a second to really get used to, but as you ride it for a couple days or so, you really get down to it, and it's not that big of a deal. And I think it's just something that I have to overcome, because I've been riding the sport bikes here my whole life, and now I'm riding something a little bit different. So I've ridden the Harleys, and friends have had Harleys, Fat Boys and Street Bobs and Softails and Road Glides, all that jazz, and shoot, even the Gold Wings. But this thing is a different animal, because this thing can lean much further. I would damn near bet that this thing could probably lean further than the Grom. And by it being able to lean and having all these aids like the traction control and the drift control and the wheelie control, and my favorite feature, launch control on a cruiser, is something else. And I'm really, really taking it light. So a lot of the other features, that it has that allows you to lean and do those things is what really sold me. Another good feature that I really do like, is the display. It's very easy to read. It's not cumbersome. The menu is very easy to navigate here, through the toggles here on the handlebars, and it gives you a nice amount of information, and it's not overbearing. So it gives you exactly what and you can customize it to your liking. Let's talk about some other great things here on the bike that I really like. The mirrors, my sport bikes usually really don't have mirrors, so it's nice to have mirrors, and they're not shitty mirrors or anything. They're nice, machined mirrors that came from the factory that, Ducati put on the bike. So there's almost really no need to really change it. The seat is great. It hugs my butt just fine, and it provides a good amount of comfort. The suspension is adjustable, here with your softening and hardening, of the shock. So you can really tone, if you want the bike to ride, super soft or super hard when you really want to play with it and get around it and throw it into the turns. It doesn't, and a lot of other cruisers that I have ridden in the past, not for a long extended amount of time, but they usually sometimes hurt my lower back. And so far, this one hasn't hurt my back, and I got a pretty good commute here to work now to the office, so I have no complaints about it. The forward foot controls, it's nice when you're cruising on the expressway. Your feet don't get tired and they don't blow around in the wind. With you hugging the bow here of the tank, it really keeps your legs, behind a lot of the wind, so you don't get that parachute effect, except, of course, on your chest because you sit upright as opposed to crouched over like you do here on the sport bikes. So that's overall, that's a good synopsis of what I really, I like almost everything about the bike. This bike is almost an entirely home run as far as what I was looking for here in a cruiser. It's got the great style, the fat wheels, the long drag look, as if you will, that I liked with the V-Rod and, and other bikes that, rival the V-Rod. It's got the package. It's got great power. It's super light, but my most favorite thing, as I said before, is that it leans almost like a sport bike. So, and that was really important to me because I really didn't want to sacrifice, so much sportiness just to get the cruiser and really be unhappy with it and then, maybe sell it in, I don't know, a year or so. I plan on keeping this for a while. If I had to really pick one bad thing that I really don't like about this bike, to really start digging into the harps, besides I took the license plate fender off here, the rear fender off in the back and relocated the plate. That's nothing. That's just aesthetic. But to me, the worst thing about this bike, here, is got to be the exhaust. Not the way it looks, because I think the exhaust, the way it looks, it's pretty bitchin', for a factory exhaust. I'm really not complaining at all about that. It's just the fact that it's just not loud enough. And I get it, Ducati has to follow rules and regulations, for the bike to be road legal and anything else that it needs to be so that Ducati can sell it to the public. Now, once it's out of the dealership, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. And of course, I'm going to change the exhaust, either straight pipe it or buy some Acro or Termi, or, whatever is the best thing that I feel that suits me at the time, and throw it on here. But I definitely like a little bit more noise because I think it's a little bit on the quiet side. So that's probably the thing that I dislike about it the most. But I really can't find too many things that's really wrong with the bike as far as my first, 600-700 miles that I have on it, that I really would be like, I wish it did this a little bit better, or I wish it didn't have this. I think everything that I was looking for when I sat on it, it was a home run. And I said this in one of my other videos. When you sit on a bike, especially, it could be your first one, or it could be your fifth one. When you sit on it and it feels home and you put your ass right there and you grab the handlebars and you vision 50,000 things going on in your head, this is the one. And when I sat on it, I'm like, this one feels really good. It's like 80 or 90% there. But when I drove it and went around, and did the test ride, I was like, this is the one. This is the one it's got to be. And I'm not on a Ducati binge or anything like that. So don't think I'm biased now and I'm going to sell everything that I have and go everything Ducati because I bought another Ducati a couple weeks ago. No. That's exactly why I couldn't part here with the BMW, because I still love this bike to death. I still love this bike. This is still probably my most favorite bike yet. The Panigale is a badass bike, but still, this is my most favorite bike, and I just love this bike. The Grom is the most fun, but this is still my most favorite bike, and I love this bike. So it has nothing to do with me being biased towards BMW, Honda, Ducati, Suzuki, any of the other previous bikes that I've owned in the past. So this was just the one, and this is what best suits me at the moment. So if you're looking into one, I definitely recommend go test riding it. It's the Diavel, xDiavel, S is significantly different than the first generation than the standard Diavel. It has the foot controls more center line rather than forward facing, and it's set up more for a drag orientation. you could, depending on who you ask, you could say it looks a little bit more sportier. I would think it looks a little bit more aggressive than this bike. This one just looks a little bit more elegant, but this one best suited me, and I like the way this one looked for me at the time. So that's why I chose this one. So, but other than that, I really don't have too many things to gripe on. Oh, last but not least, if anybody else that's watching this has a xDiavel S, the only thing that I've noticed is with the shifting here, with the shifter, going into first and second. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find neutral. It tends to skip over a lot, or sometimes you have to push with a little bit more force to get into first coming from second. Maybe this is just how the gearbox is designed. Maybe there's something wrong with my bike. Maybe that's just how it is. I'm not 100% sure, but if anyone else is watching that has a xDiavel S, let me know, and I would comment below, and I will definitely be reading that. If there is something wrong with it, I'll take it back to Ducati, and they could take a peek at it. If not, that's just the way it is, and I'll just have to deal with it. It's no big deal, just something I'll get used to. But I really have no gripes or complaints about this bike. I really like it. It does exactly what I want it to do, and it suits me best. And I'm happy with it, and that's all that matters, and I'm glad that I could share it with you all. We're going to finish things off here with a little bit of Q&A, so I appreciate everyone that participated in this. If they had any questions or concerns or comments that they would like me to share, read off, or ask anything about the channel, myself, or the vehicles that I possess, I'm here now to answer them, and I'm going to read a few of them off here. The ones that obviously word reason, the ones that have negativity or anything like that, those will be skipped over. So if you left that type of comment and you're wondering why, well, you're a dumbass. So let's get ready and let's read off some of these questions. All right, first question. Why did I pick a Corvette? And would you consider any other vehicle besides the Corvette? Well, I picked the Corvette because at the time it was a vehicle that I had never owned yet. So I wanted a Corvette, and I really loved the C7s. The C6s were good, but when the C7s came out and I had the resources and the means to afford one, I went ahead and pulled the trigger, you know, so it's exactly what I wanted. Would I own something else after this? Absolutely. It doesn't have to necessarily be American muscle. I'm not opposed to another muscle car or anything that's Chrysler or Dodge, you know. I mean, shoot, the car that I really want after that, after this, is a McLaren, so that's going to be the next thing on my bucket list. British supercar, I really like it. It's affordable for the money. I think it's a lot of great car for the money. It's fast, it goes around a track really good, it gets decent gas mileage, the reliability has come light years from what British cars used to be, so I think that's what it is. I'm not really too biased towards anything like that. What do I do for a living? I actually made a video about this. I work in IT, and I'm just going to leave it at that, so I have a little bit of privacy. How old am I? I am currently 29 years old. Here's a question. Why do you ride a track bike on the street? I ride a track bike on the street because that's where I can ride it the most, and that's where 99% of their street bikes or super bikes, whatever you want to call these, get ridden on the street, and that's why I do a lot of the reviews for the people that ride them on the street that want to know what is it like to ride on the street every day. Motorcycle Mag and Cycle Mag, you know, I'll leave it up to those guys to do them all on the track and get the performance specs and, you know, everything and so on and so forth, because that's where they're going to live. They can write a little bit about the street, but us as the owners are really going to give you an honest review and how it is to live with the motorcycle on a daily basis. So why do I ride it on the street? Because that's where I can enjoy it the most, and sometimes I can take it to the track and go balls out and have fun with it as well, because that's also where I want to ride it as well. So there you go. Why or when do I wear gear? Well, I do wear my gear, and when do I wear it? When I feel like it. Not all the time do I wear my helmet, not all the time do I wear my jacket, not all the time do I wear my pants or my boots or whatever the case may be. You can argue and say the fact that I should. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't, but that's my prerogative and that's my discretion. When I'm racing, I absolutely am geared up from head to toe. There's no question about it. Yes, I know anything could happen in front of your house. You can get T-bones pulling out of your driveway. You know, it doesn't matter, but that's the risk and what I would like to do. I wear my gear when I feel like it, and if you want to wear your gear when you feel like it, that's entirely up to you. Do you believe your bike actually made 200 wheel horsepower? There's no specification here. Is it the BMW or the Ducati? Well, I don't know which one is, but both of them actually made over 200 wheel horsepower. So yes, I do believe it did, and it does. So I've seen many other bikes make 200 wheel, and ridden other bikes that make, high 190s, low 190s, 200, a little over 200. So I kind of know what 200 wheel feels like. So do I believe it made 200 wheel? Yes. The number's really not that important to me because a dyno, remember, is a tuning tool. You go to 3 different dynos, you're going to get 3 different numbers. So where I usually take my bikes to get dynoed at Blaze Cycle, I'm going to get a number that I'm going to get there, and then I can go up the street, get another number. It could be 30 horsepower less. It could be 20 horsepower more. I don't know. I really don't care. You use it as a baseline, and then you make your adjustments, and then you can see if your adjustments have actually gained or made any type of progression or lost in the horsepower and torque department to make your engine more efficient and get more power to the ground. What are your next tires, since you complained about how fast your Ducati tires wear out? The next tires for the Ducati, probably something very similar to what I put here on the BMW. I put a dual compound tire, a Dunlop. I forget the exact model, but I like those. I get a good amount of wear out of them. They're not too bad in the wet. They handle the rain decently well, and when you get some heat in them, they actually stick very well. So no real complaints here about those. So I think I'm probably going to get those tires here for the Ducati if they make them in this size. Considering the BMW is a 190 and this is a 200, I will see if that tire is available in that size. If not, I'll get something very comparable to that. Maybe it doesn't have to be Dunlop, it could be Pirelli, depending on what's available and what's on sale or what's the prices here on the market at the time. What do you choose, the V4S and the S1K, and why? I think they mean why didn't I choose the V4S and still have the S1K, and why? Well, I did not get the S model of this because, again, I'm not going to be racing it as much on the track. This bike is primarily going to be living on the street because that's where I decide to live it, and I just like to enjoy it and look at it and ride it when I feel like it. That bike here spends a lot more time on the track, the BMW, so the DDS suspension that came on that bike, I use a lot more than I would use the Owen suspension that comes here on this. I couldn't at the time justify the extra cost for the electric suspension on this because I didn't feel that I was really going to use it, and I didn't think it was going to make much of a difference here on the street. So why do I have both? Because I love the S1000 so much. I couldn't part with the Ducati, so I was fortunate enough to be able to afford both, and that's why I have both. When I want to go racing, I'll take the BMW. When I want to carve some corners or cruise on the street, maybe I'll ride the Ducati, and some days maybe I will race this. But I'm happy what I have now, and I chose this for a reason. I'm happy with my decision. What makes me want to ride, and how long have you been riding? Well, what makes me want to ride is just the thrill of the open road and the feel of riding, I guess, to describe it. If anyone else, that knows the feel of riding, just it's a sense of freedom. It's a sense of, bliss, to say the least. It's, it's a time you can decompress and, not worry about too much, or, pay attention to what's going on, maybe in your life at the time. While you're still paying attention to the road, let me mind you. It's just I find it very meditating and stress relieving, and not that I'm super stressed, but it's just something that I really enjoy to do. And when I can always wake up and do the things that I enjoy to do, I'm just always a much happier person. And not everything in life can be exactly what you want it, but this is one thing that I love to do is ride and drive fast cars. And how long have I been riding? Pretty much since I was able to touch the ground on a motorcycle. I knew as soon as I sat on one, I didn't even have to ride it. I just kind of knew the mechanics and the in and outs, kind of how to make it work from watching and seeing other people how to do it. And I got on it and just adapted it and just did it. So how long have I been riding? I don't know, probably since I've been 5, 6 years old, if I had to put a number on it. Can I please get a shout out in one of your videos? That is by J Bells Bella. Well, here's your shout out. Thank you very much for commenting on one of the pictures here on Instagram. Another friend commenting, when can you come down to Florida and borrow one of my motorcycles? Probably never, but you're more than welcome to come down because I don't lend out my motorcycles. I'm sorry. I don't want anything to happen to them, nor with a friend. I don't want anything to happen with my friendship with that individual and say, hey, you have to pay for this and anything else to happen under the sun. So I don't want to lend out my motorcycles, but you're more than welcome to come down and maybe rent a motorcycle and we'll go that way. Another friend says, is the earth flat or round? Well, I hope that you already know that answer. If you don't, I'm sorry. Another friend says to me, why is your BMW always broken? Well, that's an inside joke between another friend, and you know who you are, and it's not broken. Another question, why do you have so many motorcycles? Why don't you just have one that you love so much? Well, I have so many because it's a passion of mine. Cars and motorcycles is a passion, and each one is very special to me, and each one does something different, and I enjoy being able to do something different with each one. And each one, when I get on that motorcycle or drive that car, it's a different experience for me. And depending on my mood or what I'm doing, it allows me to tackle that experience and complete it at the end, usually as soon as I'm done. So that's why I have more than one, and hopefully when I have the means, I can build a huge garage that can hold 20 or 30 cars and 50 motorcycles and broaden that even more. When I can do that, I will share that as well with each and every one of you and talk about why each one is so special to me, and maybe someone may find that to relate to as well. But I think that's going to conclude it here for today's Q&A. If you have any further questions, drop me a line in this video or on Instagram. I will host another one in the next coming weeks. Again, if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. You can catch me as well on Instagram at the Speedbug, the same name as YouTube, and we will see you here for another episode here on the Speedbug channel. More Ducati, more xDiavel, Corvette content on its way soon. Deuces.